And today on Holiday 2017, we're in the Bahamas.
Hey, welcome to Acoustic Paradiso on Anderton's TV. My name is Pete.
My name is Mick.
And I am Funky. That wasn't next Funky, but
I was trying to make the capo talk, but actually it would have made much more sense if you'd zoomed in on the capo and said something along the lines of "My name is Capo." It's been a long day. It's been a long day. So
and it's not over yet.
No, it's not. It's our first, despite it nearly being the summer.
Yeah.
It's our first video session of 2017.
It is. We've been busy.
Pete and I, yes.
We've been busy, and it's been a while since we've done any Acoustic Paradiso videos, but there are some more coming, and that's gonna be great. And we would like you to comment below what you think we should do acoustic-wise, because there is a lot of things we can do. We just need some good ideas.
Yes.
It's always good with comments and nice comments below.
And on that subject of what people generally want, the thing that gets asked for more than anything is, you know, comparisons of guitars at different price points.
Yes.
So here we are. We have the most famous guitar in the world.
Shape.
Yeah.
As well, absolutely the most copied guitar shape apparently in the world.
Yeah.
Some might think it was a Stratocaster, but it is not.
Yes.
It is the Dreadnought shape. Yes,
invented kind of in the late 1920s-ish, but popularised in the 1930s. The
Yeah.
Dreadnought guitar by Martin, of course.
D28.
Yeah, D28 standard, and essentially the blueprint for pretty much most flat top guitars sold today. Yes, there are other body sizes, but it's phenomenally popular and everybody wants one.
And it's a great guitar. And so what you thought we were gonna, that guitar's about £3,000
Yes, £2,300
at the moment.
Current prices.
Yeah, and we thought, you know, let's compare some Dreadnoughts which are not even close to being £2,000.
No, so this is a Fender Paramount PM1 Deluxe. I just needed to check that. There are a few models in the Fender Paramount series. We've looked at them on Guitar Paradiso before, and Pete and I are both fans. I think I remember really liking the Parlor.
Yeah, great
Shape
guitars.
One.
And the good thing, the good thing is they are reasonably priced and they're all solid.
Yes.
Come with cases, like hard cases and all that stuff. So the price point is really good. What is it,
It's just under 700 quid. So solid rosewood back and side, solid Sitka spruce top, some deluxe appointments such as fancy stuff in the fingerboard and binding. All of this, if you're not really into acoustic guitars, all of that stuff adds cost.
Yeah.
So
because it is extra labour that needs to be done to
if
the
you
guitar.
compare it to the Davina,
not McCall, the Puella,
means
which
girl, apparently.
means girls in Slovakia. So this is a brand. It's a European-made guitar, and this is a solid top with a laminate back and side.
No fancy stuff on the fingerboard.
And it has no fanciness
binding,
at all.
No gloss finish.
Nothing. Absolutely.
Spruce? Is this spruce?
It's spruce.
Yeah.
Springsteen. Sprinkling.
Is that lamb mahogany or is that laminate mahogany? What's the price point of that?
$399.
So $399, nearly 700 quid. Yeah. 2,200 for the Martin, and
then
Sigma.
It's a
DR28.
Yeah. So Alpha Rosewood.
Bears a passing resemblance to the Martin.
To a certain guitar, which
to
is
the
over
Martin
here.
D28. You know,
you can't help thinking that, but you know, Martin was involved with the Sigma guitar at some point back in the 70s. There's
brand history between the two. Check it out. Read it on Wikipedia.
Yeah, check all that stuff out.
So what's this? 399? 359.
Yes. So that is the cheapest one.
Yeah, and that has laminate rosewood back and sides, solid Sitka spruce top.
Yeah.
It looks like mahogany, but could be a number of hardwood necks.
But see, so what you're getting is you get a guitar made in is that made in Korea, I believe, is it?
China.
China. Okay, so it's made in China, and you get this $359, the cheapest guitar, and then you get something that's handmade in Europe.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the appointments on that is so much more. There's so much more going on. But
gloss finish, bit of binding.
Yeah. Well, all the stuff that you'll get on the D28 basically.
And I believe the Fender is probably made in China as well. Yeah. So, yes. Okay.
So these are the three guitars we wanted to compare. You heard me there in the beginning, just sort of noodle around and change over and stuff like that. So I think should we start with the cheapest one?
Let's do that.
Versus the most expensive one.
Why not?
Is that what we're going to do?
because obviously, if you're looking to buy an acoustic Dreadnought guitar, you're like, why? You need to stop saying two things. One is "so" at the beginning of every sentence, because it really annoys a good friend of mine. So much so that he got apoplectic about it on Facebook.
Have you got a good friend?
We're in the groove.
There we go.
We're in the groove. So, so I need to stop saying "so" at the beginning of every sentence.
Stop that.
And so, like, those two words need to be expunged from the.
Can we mention some names on this person?
It's Neville.
Was it Neville?
Yeah.
Ah.
There's like a vein popping out. He was so angry. He was as angry as the angriest blues singer you've ever seen. Woke up this morning, vein popping out my neck.
On the harmonica.
Anyway. Okay.
So, here we go.
Are we in tune, Pete? Should we try that?
That's the first thing.
Near enough. What plectrum are you using?
I'm using a nylon 1mm.
Got a spare one?
We can pass them around. I'll pass it over.
Okay, pass it over.
Yeah.
Right, let's check our mic position.
Mic position's about just. I'm sort of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably. We'll swap them over anyway. You know, it's always difficult with the mic positioning, and you know, some people like it there, some people like it there, some people like it there, some people like it there. And actually, where it should be is up here because that's what we're hearing with our ears.
Well, we'll finish with the tangents, but if you want to use two mics on an acoustic guitar, a really great way to do it is put one there and one here. It's a really nice way to mic an acoustic guitar.
It's nice. Oh, I like to put one up here. But anyway,
yeah.
So, here we go. G chord, our favourite chord. Let it ring. Just do a chord and let it ring, please. So, verdict?
Well, as always, so whether we're doing this here, whether we're doing the pedal show, whatever, whenever we've made a video,
yeah,
recorded it and listened back to it,
yeah,
it's always a bit surprising, isn't it? Because what your ears hear in this three-dimensional space of this room,
yeah,
is subtly different from what these microphones hear, which by the time you hear it is a two-dimensional presentation out of a speaker.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to hear the audio is the first thing to say.
Yeah.
Second thing to say is I'm kind of not surprised. This sounds a bit thinner,
yeah,
bit rattlier, bit less fundamental.
Yeah. It feels, you feel that rattle in the strings and sort of I mean, when you're playing it. It's not
could well be, that could well be, there's a little bit of bellying on the top there, not very much, nothing to worry about, by the way. So the bridge isn't going to go any lower than that, so maybe the nut's pretty low, maybe the truss rod needs a bit of a tweak,
you know, but all of that stuff is sort of set up things.
It's dead straight.
To picking it from the wall in the shop, playing it, it's great.
Yeah, what I'm galloping towards is that personally I would probably go for a bit of a higher action on that, and that would probably take away some of that zinginess, but
absolutely,
you know, it doesn't have the depth and the fundamental that has, I would say.
No.
And interestingly, of all the D28s I've played, and I guess both of us have played many over the years. That one sounds doesn't sound as punchy and as hard and as middly as some of the other ones I've played.
Well, see, it could be strings as well, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Strings, of course, makes a huge difference, and we will do string videos in the future.
Yeah.
And we will do, we'll probably get like three of the same guitar and then string them with different phosphor bronze, maybe some other stuff.
Makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. So we're going to do that in the future so you can see what that's like.
But I think it underlines the point that even though you have the sound of a Martin D28 in your head, or the sound of a particular guitar in your head, actually playing that particular guitar is really important, because they do all vary a little bit between them.
That's why you need to come in and try them in the shop and play them before you buy them.
You see how I worked that one in there?
You did, yeah.
Right.
Pick another one.
Should we move along?
Next.
Let's go. Well, keep that.
Okay.
Because that's
you don't want to go
that's the standard, isn't it?
You take that one now.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. These are all mid-priced guitars.
Can we have a quick tuning check, Pierre?
We can. Here we go.
Had this on the capo in the intro piece that you heard there, so always throws it out. Play some tricky stuff down the bottom of the neck.
What do you mean?
Like bluesy stuff.
It's really high action on this one. It's not really high action, but it's higher than I would have it.
It's higher, yeah. Yeah, okay, let's try that a minute.
What do you expect? It's the same thing again. This is very different from the other one, I must say. I think the Sigma's closer as a Dreadnought guitar to the Martin and the Sigma are closer to each other than these two will be to each other.
I wonder how much of that is down to the strings, because it's so much more brash, isn't it, that guitar?
Yeah.
Were you hearing that?
Yeah. Then these are Martin strings.
So they're not cheap strings?
No.
So maybe they're just brand new. So this sounds like it's a more present sounding guitar.
Yeah.
To me, this sounded much more mid-range focused than the Martin.
Much more mid-range, absolutely.
Which is why I asked you to play some bluesy stuff, because the single note stuff perhaps would have more girth when you've got that extra, I said girth, when you've got that mid-range for the single strings.
Yeah,
quite
absolutely.
different though.
Very, very different. No, you could have these two guitars, and if you are going to do some recording or whatever, they would sit two completely different side of the spectrum. I think
that's really interesting, because that mid-range character is really what defines the sound of any guitar.
And it's the same shape. This is the funny thing. But of course, inside will be an X-Brace of some sort. And again, that's a Martin thing, isn't it? They did the X-Brace.
Yep.
1845 or something ridiculously long, 100 million years ago. which it
Before
is.
dinosaurs.
Yeah,
They decided that dinosaurs were wandering around. Caveman going, I wonder if we can get an X-Brace, a flat top acoustic guitar.
See, if I scallop the bracing.
Look out, T-Rex!
I have a saber-toothed tiger over there. Clopping someone and dragging them in the cave.
Did dinosaurs and man coexist?
Don't think so. I think it might have been saber-toothed tigers and big mammoth elephants. Anyway,
and the Martin
that's
X-Brace.
And Martin X-Brace, and they made it out of mammoth tusks.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
It was entirely not appropriate to do that.
No. Even back then, it wasn't.
In fact, there's a whole little story on rosewood that we might come to in a minute.
Well, rosewood is another thing. That's why. Anyway, you know that whole story. But so back to the guitars. Yes. It's funny how different the same shaped guitar could be, and probably the same X-Brace inside.
Yeah.
What if that's down to the wood, which is another tone wood. The whole thing about tone woods and all that stuff. Laminate, does it make a difference? That's a solid guitar. This is a laminate guitar. You know, you don't necessarily. I don't necessarily prefer real wood back and sides for some reason, and that's just me. Some guitars I've played with laminate back and sides sound just as good, or some of them better. For me.
Especially in the low to mid price range.
Exactly.
I think once you get up there,
yes.
Once you get into premium guitars, everything changes.
Yes. But that's also, I think, the wood that they use, now we're getting into this whole, is better wood for guitars. Maybe it's thinner, maybe whatever, I don't know.
More carefully selected.
We can talk about
less
that.
Less dense, whatever. Yeah, let's not stop that.
Maybe now they do all this torrefication where they kind of they heat the wood up and make it 50 million years old or something, you know.
At least.
And then build a guitar.
Tiger.
Exactly. Sort of rub it against the unicorn.
Okay, so this is very different.
Yeah.
On the subject of rubbing against unicorns, this is so different for a number of reasons. One, it's got cutaway. Some people say that cutaway makes a massive difference to the sound. Other people, including John Larrivee, for example, say it doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a satin finish.
Yeah.
No gloss finish. Plus, it's mahogany, not rosewood.
Yes.
And given that these guitars are about the same price,
it's another 50 quid, isn't it?
This is an interesting comparison.
Yeah. I think that sounds great.
Me too.
Immediately, this sounds to me much better. I don't know what you're hearing out there in YouTube land. It's much more open, there's much more sound, there's much more bottom end, there's much more highs. That feels a bit choked, comparison.
Deliberately hitting the guitar a bit harder there, which was pushing the tuning. But yes, I agree. That definitely feels a little bit more held in, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
When you were saying that this one seems to have highs, I think it's got different highs. That one,
different highs, yeah.
That one has a little bit of brashness about it.
Yes.
we're getting into cork sniffing here. That is a little bit brash, whereas this one just has nice treble.
Yeah.
Which are two different things.
Yeah.
And you're right. I don't know whether it's the no finish, the light build, the mahogany, everything.
Because it's very light.
Yeah.
As well.
Everything's going to contribute.
Yeah.
But that sense of fullness from the guitar itself.
Yeah.
Is quite appealing.
Lovely.
And you might find, just basing this on stuff that we've recorded in the past and mixing and stuff, this guitar might struggle to sit in a mix a little bit.
That's correct.
As a struggle is the wrong word, but where it doesn't have that mid-range dip and where it does have that kind of quite strong projection.
It's you can use it if you're singing, doing like an acoustic set with it. It would be great, you know, or with a. But you can always mix that in a
exactly.
mix.
Yeah.
No, let's just
you
do the.
Hear the Martin?
Yes, please. I'll grab that. I'll grab this.
Okay. Fascinating.
It is. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's fascinating. So this is a brand new guitar. It's got no weight in it. It's very lightly built. It's got no finish on it. It's got everything in its favour to make it sound open and resonant and alive, and it does.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
I'm super interested to hear this guitar in a couple of years' time, because I think that will have got 5 times better.
Oh, but yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think this will sound broadly the same.
Yeah. I think, you know what, no, that's a really good point, that, man. That's a really, really good point. Because they sort of, you know, Diane Martin, she always says that this is the worst it's ever going to sound.
Diane Ponzio,
which we love. And that's so correct with the Martin guitars, because I've got my OM28V, which is just a brilliant guitar. Every time I play that guitar, it's just better than it was the last time I played it.
I think it's the same with all premium guitars. So my guitar, when I got it new,
what do you got? You got a Collins?
Yeah, Collins CJ35, which is a horrifically expensive guitar. And when it was new, it sounded fantastic. 3.5 years later, it sounds 3 times as fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the things that when you do invest your money, because it is an investment, and I don't think you
exaggeration. I don't think 3 times as fantastic. It sounds better.
You know, I think if you spend that money, it is an investment, because it is an investment. If you want to throw $2.5 grand or $3.5 grand on a guitar, you know, it's not something you're going to put aside at some point. You know, where a lot of the cheaper guitars might maybe not get used as much, and it'll be, oh, this is my first guitar, don't really know if I'm inspired to play. That's one of the things I say it's most important. We, as musicians, we want to have something that, you know, we like to have this stuff that inspires us, and I think that's most important. That guitar inspires me more, for me, than these 2 guitars when I pick it up and play it, and that's a great feature of a guitar.
Yeah.
And as you said, I don't know if it's going to be better in 3 or 4 or 5 years.
No. But
we actually do have one.
At that point, at this price, kind of who cares? Because if you're just getting into acoustic guitar, or you just want something to play and not worry too much about, you'd be pretty insane to buy one of those. I think.
unless you're swimming in money, then it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, then it doesn't matter. But
you know,
or unless you've been, you know, it's your 40th birthday or whatever it is, and you've been saving up, and you know, it's the guitar in your head. But if you're talking about straight bang for buck, instant gratification, a guitar you're not afraid of, because that's the other thing with really expensive guitars, they can be quite intimidating.
Yes.
Because you never want to take it out of the case. So
yeah, and you don't want to ding it, and you don't want to dong it, but you have to remember these things are there to be played, you know. And I remember my guitar getting the first scratches and dings and dong. I'm like, oh no, it's my expensive Martin. And I was like, no, actually, it's great, because it gives it that thing that is, you know, that thing happened when I was doing that gig there or something. Yeah. And it's just a thing, it's just a great thing, you know.
The first one really hurts, and the next 300 are kind of cool.
Yeah. Hello. So that's a great guitar for the money. They're all great guitars, don't get me wrong, but if I was to buy one as my first guitar, or that would be the one I would go for that money. If I had 400 quid, can I say that? I can say that. That's my opinion. Absolutely. I know. Then it's a look thing, because I don't really care so much about the look of it. You know, people might not like the look of that. They might want that look. They might want the sunburst with all the bling and the stuff on it. And if they want that, then you know there's other options, other brands out there that does guitars at probably a similar price point. You know, and this is something that people aspire to get. You know, because that is the. It is just that guitar, and that is the most iconic sound that you will get from any recordings, whether it's you know, Beatles, or it doesn't matter who they are. They would have played a D28 at some point. Yeah,
or another Martin.
Another Martin, but
Rosewood. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is just that iconic
it's
sound.
It's the sound of an age, and what always amazes me about when you play one of those is it instantly sounds like that guitar. And while there are all of those other guitars that are the same shape and use the same stuff, Martin definitely has something.
There is something nobody can, you know, you can make exactly the same guitar, but it's never going to sound like a Martin. And that's the thing. The same with Taylors, the same with,
exactly.
They all have that thing where you go, they all sound like something, and it doesn't matter what guitar they make, you can hear that it's, well...
And it's not necessarily better or worse.
No.
It's just different.
It's what you prefer. But we did do a blind test at some point where we blind tested them, and we couldn't really tell the difference in the guitars, which was quite funny, actually, because we couldn't tell the difference in listening and playing, feeling-wise. Yeah. So, man. But if you hear a recording...
It's what you want to play, isn't it? It's what makes you want to pick the thing up and play it is the most important thing of all.
It's the inspiration of a guitar. When you pick it off the wall in the shop, that's why it's important to try things out. You know, it's fine to buy some things online or whatever, but it's really important to come and try out, because you're going to go, and it's just going to go, wow, that's nice. I love this feel of this neck and this stuff, you know.
Yeah, or I can't stand this, I really don't like it at all.
Yeah.
Both reactions are pretty good, because they get you further down the road. Anyway, now we're talking very generally.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, if you are going to spend a lot of money on a guitar like this, you know that it's going to be a good one. You know, they are not all exactly the same, and one will probably be slightly bit different, because they are all touched by human hands, and they all been set up by humans and all of this different stuff, so they will feel different. But you can rest assured, if you want a D28, they will be here on a lesson. But these are great, man. I mean, value for money wise. And there's more of them. We should do more of these videos, because they're great.
Yeah, yeah. I'm consistently amazed at how good entry. I mean, I'm going to say entry level. They're not entry level. They're sort of, I don't know what 399 is. That's not entry level anymore. But I mean, you can buy a Squire for 129.
Yeah, but and we did the Yamaha. What was that? The triple O shape kind of thing, which is £180.
Yeah. And
I was so impressed with those guitars.
Yeah.
You know, so as we talked about before, as you were going to say before, I so rudely interrupted, that it is just what you get today compared to what you got 20 years ago. It's just incredible.
It's night and day. Well, 20 years ago,
it's insane.
Let's see, 20 years ago,
when you were about 57.
Yeah, I'd actually just graduated, and I'd started work on Guitarist magazine. So 23 years ago, I walked down Denmark Street and got my dad to phone up and pay on his card over the phone for a Jasmine, which was Takamini's sub brand.
Yeah.
It was a horrific guitar. I mean, it was okay. It sounded like an acoustic guitar, but it had no mid range. It had no volume. It had no punch. It was, you know, but it served a purpose. Compared to this,
what you get now for your money is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's actually it's all arranged. You know, there's a new Squire, the electric Squire guitars, the Jazzmasters and stuff, and you can get one that's like £189, and it's just, for that amount of money, it's nuts. It really is crazy what you get. How they do it, it's beyond me. But anyway, we've been rambling on too long.
Shall we hear them all again in a little jamage?
We'll jam out.
I will just say before we finish, have a look on the internet and learn a little bit about what's happening with Rosewood at the moment. So
yes.
Rosewood is the subject of new CITES legislation which came in on January the 2nd, 2017. It's nothing to do with Brazilian rosewood. Brazilian rosewood has been on Appendix 1 of the CITES protected species list since 1992. So forget Brazilian rosewood, take that out of the equation. All other rosewood. So this rosewood, this rosewood, this rosewood, Indonesian, North Indian, East Indian, wherever that rosewood comes from, it is now subject to Appendix 2 of the CITES protected species list.
Yeah.
Which means that it's now a bit more of a headache for companies to use rosewood. It's still perfectly possible, it's still perfectly legal, they're working it all out. However, my prediction, Peter, galloping to the point, is you will stop seeing rosewood quite so much on mid-price guitars. So if you want a rosewood guitar, I would suggest now is the time
to buy them.
To go and buy it.
Absolutely. And even on these guitars here, I know probably companies like Martin and Taylor and the big companies, they will have rosewood lying around there. They've got,
and they'll continue to use it on their premium guitars.
What could happen is the price could go up on these guitars.
I think it's entirely likely.
Absolutely, and that's why companies like Martin, like Gibson, like other companies are starting to use alternative woods, and that's why the X series of the Martin was such an innovative guitar when it came out with the laminate back and sides, which is now absolutely being used in all other guitar manufacturers. And I think that's why a lot of these guitars sound good, because it's just a process that they figured out how to do.
Yeah.
The Richlite fingerboards, you know, I predict. I'm not. What's his name? I can't predict stuff. Nostradamus. But I think stuff like Richlite would be changed. So like laminate, it will be made into stuff that is more like rosewood, that is more like the woods that we can't get.
Yeah, because it's rosewood this year, and the
ebony will be next.
Ebony will be next.
Mahogany
will be next.
will go as well, and so that's why I really want a D18. I really want to get a D18 now, and I regret not getting them when they first came out because the price has gone like that.
Yeah,
and that's solid mahogany back and sides, and it's got rosewood, ebony. That will just
it will get more expensive for sure. But I think
anyway,
the days of seeing this kind of thing for under £400 with laminate rosewood back and sides, my prediction is they are numbered, and maybe in a couple of years we can decide whether that was a correct prediction or not. But
fingerboards on Stratocasters and whatever.
It's very interesting. Go online, read about it. I think I've just written a piece that will be in Guitarist Acoustic on it, which is why it's in my brain. But it's a super interesting topic.
Clever. Right. Anyway, that was some Dreadnought guitars, an expensive one, a top end one, and 3. Will you take the one that's?
Oh, I thought you were going to go through them in order.
So, because my arms are very short. So we got the Martin D28 and the Fender Paramount PM1 Deluxe SB.
The Sigma DR28 and the Dalvina Puella DCES.
Yeah, and they're 4 really different guitars, but they are very similar.
Well, let's stop talking and hear more to finish.
Absolutely. That was Guitar Acoustic Paradiso on Anderton's TV.
I've been Mick.
And I am Pete. And we will see you next time.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.